Hey guys, welcome back to
Real Life Scenario.
Oh,
that was good.
Shout out to all our real lovers out there.
Hi guys.
Thank you for coming back and listening to us again and watching us again. If you're new here, please subscribe, comment, like, review.
Come on in.
And then you'll be part of the Real Lover Gang, which you want to be a part of because we're pretty dope over here.
Do all the stuff.
Do all the stuff.
And the real lovers are also going to make sure that you do all the stuff. The ones that's already in gang. Tiffany, hey girl, how you doing? Making sure you are right. Our number one fan. We love you. But yes, hold us down. Do all the things that Dre just said.
Please do. And I have a goal for Apple Podcasts. Let's get to 500 reviews by the end of the year. We're at 343, I think, right now. Let's get to 500 reviews, 5-star reviews.
Thank you.
Yes.
Please. 500, 5 stars.
Yeah.
Easy to remember.
There we go.
Just like that.
Rhonda, how you doing?
You know, I'm okay. I'm not feeling the hottest right now, but overall I feel okay. I'm knocking down some good liquid vitamins right now. But I'm happy to be here. I'm always happy to be here. How are you?
Blessed and highly favored.
Blessed and highly favored.
There we
Don't get me started. Don't get me started. I already done sang 3-4 times, and we've been in here for how long? 90 seconds.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm doing well.
Good.
You know, things are going well. Like I said, family good. Everybody's healthy. Everything else can figure it. You know, it's not that big of a deal.
That's the biggest blessing. Health and family being good. So I'm with you on that. I do have to say thank you and give a quick shout out, if you don't mind, to my fabulous Mayor Brandon Scott, for hosting another annual Youth Summit, the Influencer Summit. I always enjoy myself. Noel, thank you. You did an amazing job, and thank you for having me, and to the lovely panelists. Thank you for sharing your time with me. So I just had to thank the guys, well, the gals, not the guys, the guy and the gals with the Youth Summit.
Yeah, Mayor Scott's cool. And one thing I've noticed since I've been Baltimore's adopted son recently, is that there's so much community here in Baltimore. Like such a great community aspect to it. And I love that about this city. So
it's a beautiful, really beautiful city from so many angles. So I'm glad that you picking up on those vibes.
I am. You know, they trained us one way when we were growing up, but you know, I had to see for myself.
There we go.
And Baltimore's become a second home. All right, we were talking about our real lovers. Let's do our real lover review.
You know what I always say, my favorite part of the show.
So this is nice, simple, straight to the point. So this is from Apple Podcasts. This is from One Love Bryson.
Yeah, sure.
We'll say that.
Yeah.
My happy 5 stars. I am thankful for you and the realness and how you pour into your community. We appreciate that because you're the community.
Sweet.
You are the community.
That. Short and sweet. That is it. Thank you for noticing how we pour into you and the community here. So,
and the great thing is we have fun doing it.
We do. We absolutely do.
Yeah.
Listen, go be like One Love Bryson and leave a review. Literally one sentence.
One sentence. Not
one
hard.
Sentence.
Just
and you can say whatever you want, honestly. We're okay with you saying more. But that's all it takes.
I always tell people, just take your little cousin phone. You know, they got their iPhone, the podcast app already on there. Just take your little niece phone, your little cousin, and just leave a review.
Boop, boop.
That's all you got to do.
Plop it on in there.
We appreciate
you.
So you want to get to our real life love review, Rhonda?
Let's do it. Just saw this, and shout out to Alexia. She shared this video with us, and I thought that it was very interesting because even I was surprised by it. So
Alexia runs our social media, and she's a crucial part of the team.
Yes.
I had dinner with her this weekend, and it was great because she was in town. Shout out to Alexia. We love her.
I hate that. But anywho, it says on a recent episode of the Hardly Initiated podcast, licensed therapist Spirit shared that the number one indicator of whether or not a child will grow up and thrive is the quality of their mother's happiness. She went on to say that when a mother is depressed, stressed, anxious, or otherwise mentally unavailable, she is unable to properly nurture her children. And I just thought that this was, not that I was shocked that this would have a negative impact on a child, but that it's the number one indicator. That was like, really? Because even one of the hosts of the podcast was like, the father being absent from the home, which I truly, of course, know that has an impact. But I just was so surprised by that. Were you?
It's one of those things to where it's obvious, but you're like, I never thought about that. But now that I start to think about it, that makes a lot of sense, right? It's you have the saying in marriages, happy wife, happy life, because your wife is, and the woman is what makes the home essentially. So if she's disrupted, upset, not doing well, everything else is just off, and you can feel that. But it makes a lot of sense, because if you are upset, angry, grieving, you barely want to take care of yourself. Sometimes you just want to curl up in a ball, get in the bed, be done, don't want to do nothing. DoorDash the last 2 days, didn't leave the apartment or the house.
That's it.
So I can't imagine how you would feel if you had to take care of another life on top of that, because when you're in that space, you barely want to take care of yourself.
I couldn't agree more. And like you said, it should seem very obvious. I think growing up in a single parent household with just a mother, I know for a fact, like I just remember certain times where like my mom was off or just like not okay because of things that were just happening in her life. And I remember, like you said, it filled the home. You know what I mean? Like, and I had a beautiful childhood. My mother did an amazing job, and my mother was very attentive and very nurturing, but she also was like very hardworking, and she dealt with a lot of crap that I just didn't learn until I was a woman. But I know, like, I can very much remember those times where it was like, if something was going on where she couldn't come out of it, I couldn't imagine how different that would have impacted my life. They were just moments, they were seasons. Most of them were short to me, maybe longer to her, because she was maybe hiding certain things because she is a mom, or was an active mother. But yes, I think it's like what you said, women are, and the mother or the wife in the household is usually more naturally the nurturer. So the care of the entire home is usually resting on her. It's not that a husband doesn't participate or a father doesn't participate, but it's just something very different about how the mother handles the home and how women handle the home, how their attention to detail is usually a lot higher. They have that thing of like what some people call it intuition, or like a mother just knows. You've heard that saying before. I think there's something just like so intuitive about the nurturing aspect of a woman and a mom. So when I really thought about it, like you said, it's like it should have been quite obvious that like that's what it is.
And another reason why it's obvious too is that it's probably this way because the mothers are typically the ones that are always there. And even though a father leaving may contribute, that probably also contributes to a mother's unhappiness or depression or stress or anxiety. So it's like, the dad leaving is a contributing factor as far as the child actually being raised and not having a father, but it also contributes to the wife or the woman or the mother of the child as well, and their mood and feeling towards things, especially depending on how that situation ended.
And I think I hope that it highlights that it is so important for people to be okay. Like not just mom, but dad too, but like whoever is responsible for rearing the children and pouring into them and nurturing them. It is so important for everyone to be okay, like to be happy.
I'm trying to tell you
that is crucial.
That's the thing that people don't like to talk about a lot of times. And I hate this because I talk about it too when it comes to men, and we talk about setting the bar that, for a man, because there's so many people out there that are unfaithful and all these different things that some men think the bar is just being faithful. And as long as I'm faithful and I got a good job, I'm a great man. And you should be thankful for me because it's all these other people out here cheating. And I feel like that's the same way sometimes when it comes to raising kids, that because there is absence, you think just because you're present that you're doing something. It's like, no, that's what you're supposed to do. You don't get an award for being a present father, right? That's what you're supposed to do. Or a present mom, but we don't talk enough about parenting in toxicity, but being present still. because that has a worse effect than a single parent who has emotional intelligence. Yeah. Like our parents, like I live with my mom, you live with your mom. And I know as adults, single moms, even though my dad was around, like there are things that they go through that we did not see. And they were able to keep that from us and still parent and still be positive and still implement all these things into us, even though we know that as adults, especially now, that they were probably going through something a lot deeper. So there's just so many people who they have these 2-parent homes, and I've met some of them to where, and it's like,
I have a friend who is like, my father was in the household, but he was not present. Like he was physically there. He lived in the house. We saw him every day, but he was not present. Like didn't even really talk to them. Didn't show up for things. It just was like, you just actually just like live here. You're just as useful as like a piece of furniture.
Yep.
You're just here.
I remember I was dating a girl and I asked her, I said, what? And it put a lot of things in perspective to me. I said, who is somebody that you trust like 100%? Like has you up and down, push come to shove, like they got your back, you can count on them, comes to anything. She was thinking for a while, like she was like, I think maybe my aunt. And it just blew my mind that it wasn't her mom or dad that first came to her mind. And mind you, this girl told me she grew up with an indoor pool in her house. All these different, so it gave me a perspective on what, being rich really was, right?
Yeah.
Especially as a child, because as a child, you don't need much, you don't want for much. It's like the bare minimums, go to school, clothes, and all the other stuff is whatever.
Yeah.
So having a whole bunch of money at that time and all these different amenities as a child is like cool, but not really needed. But having that family environment, that village, those people who care about you, that's where the true wealth lies. And it was just insane to me that when I asked her 100% somebody that she could trust, she didn't name her mom or her dad.
So sad. That's so sad, because I mean that was the first person I thought of. My mother. My dad's not living anymore, but even if he was, he would not have been number 2 on the list.
Yeah, it's like push come to shove. It's like I know if everything goes to hell for me, I got a place where I can rest my head. I got a place where I can get food. I went over my parents' house the other day, and my mom was like, "Oh, you hungry? There's food in the fridge. You want blah blah blah." And I remember Bree was over there one time, and she was like, "Y'all always got something to eat over here." My stepdad was like, "That's what parents are for."
I'm telling you, I just feel like it's like going to the mall. I can, like, you go to a nice mall, you could get something to wear, you could get something to eat.
Oh, don't be sick. It's a ton of medicines.
Tons of medicine. You got a safety pin? Yeah, go upstairs, get it there. I mean, I got a little hole in my legs. Can you stitch it up? Take them off. Like, just can. She always has.
Parents' houses have everything.
They just have everything, plus the love, plus the good conversations. They're gonna be able to catch you up on the weather, what's happening in the news, what television shows are about to come on, which series are ending. Like, they just have it all. Like, I think it's an amazing thing. But I just hope that and everything that we're talking about just helps people to understand, like you talked about the dynamic between the two people. Like, it is important that you are good to one another if you are parenting a child. Like, even if you are unable to be together anymore, that you are very mindful about the mental state of your co-parent. It needs to be as good as possible. And if for nothing else, you are not contributing to any already existing stressors, because life is already stressful on its own, jobs and figuring out how to grow and be just a good person. So the last thing you should be doing with a person that you're sharing in this responsibility with is like causing undue stress to them, not being supportive to them, being irritating, or making parenting difficult. You all have to really, really work together to have your minds in the game, because you are responsible for shaping a mind. You are or minds, little minds. It's all dependent on you being happy and you being able to show up for yourself, because that's the only way you can actually really show up for your kids.
You know what really sucks too? Is that there are people, everybody has different coping mechanisms for different things. And there are people who use children as a coping mechanism. There are people who enter parenthood depressed, with anxiety, stressed out, and they think having a child will solve that for them.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
That they get to that point.
Yep. I hear you, because I've seen it. I've seen it, that y'all use them babies like they dolls.
I know somebody who said, like, I wanted a daughter because I felt like she would love me like nobody has ever loved me.
Yeah.
And that's just, not saying that can't be a good, one of the reasons why, but it shouldn't be the primary reason why. No,
it shouldn't be. Because then you create a very dependent relationship on your child. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's a slippery slope. And that's something that I actually really look forward to, like, talking through more when we have certain guests, like, that are in the field of psychology, because I feel like I want to get into the mindset of, like, that exact thing. So interesting. But thank you, Spirit, for sharing that. It was very, very eye-opening, although should have been, like you said, very intuitive. But let's jump into the real love scenario. This week, I'm so impressed with the name that I gave this person. This week we hear from Gypsy Woman, and Gypsy Woman says, "Hey guys, I guess this isn't really a love scenario, but more of a breakup scenario. My ex of 2 years and I broke up about 4 months ago, and it's been incredibly hard to come back from. We have a 3-year-old son, and we currently are still living together. I found out that right after our breakup, he decided to hop in a situationship with his coworker. I asked him time and time again if they were talking and having sex, and he kept denying it until one day he came clean and told me that they were in fact talking and having sex. This crushed me. Not only because he's moving on so fast, but because we still share the same home, and it's extremely hard to coexist with him, knowing he's having relations with another woman. We do plan on moving out, but the lease is not up for another 8 months, and he also cannot afford to live on his own. I can't keep getting hurt by this man because it's tearing me down mentally, but I also don't want my child's father to be homeless. How do I cope through this madness?" Thank you, Gypsy Woman. And the reason that I named her that is, if you know the song, la da dee la dee da, you know, she's homeless, except in this situation, he's homeless. Not her. She's not. Well, I mean, he's also technically not homeless, but so many little layers here. So many little layers here, Dre.
Listen, man.
I saw you shaking your head and rolling your eyes.
If I was this girl's father,
ooh.
I know I couldn't legally dispose of this man.
That's a good way to put that. Dispose of.
I would take a bat up to his side his head or something.
Yeah.
If I was her brother, uncle, because let me tell you, this is brothers like you.
Brothers
who give us a bad name when people be like, I lost all hope in men. It's because of people like you. That's why. Because let me tell you how dirty this dude is.
Yeah.
How dirty. I'm going to take y'all back real quick. We're gonna go back in time. Rhonda and I met in property management.
Yeah.
That's where we first met, managing Class A luxury properties. Mm-hmm. For those who don't know, a typical residential lease is how many months, Rhonda?
12.
12 months.
1 year.
1 year.
Yeah.
According to this, they have 8 months left on their lease.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And also according to this, they broke up 4 months ago. What's 8 plus 4, Rhonda?
12.
So this brother knew.
Uh-huh.
He knew he couldn't afford a place on his own.
Yeah.
And he knew he didn't want to continue with this relationship.
Mm-hmm. Can't tell me different. You can't convince me otherwise.
It's crazy how that line up, don't it?
Crazy.
So now he got a 12-month place to stay because he can't afford a place on his own.
Mm-hmm.
And he used that girl.
Yeah.
Whether it was a lease renewal or a new place, he waited until everything was signed and then proceeded with the whole breakup and breakdown and all that stuff like that. Like you just played, like you played somebody, and that's just we talk about kindness, generosity, being good people. It's like, just because you don't want to be with somebody doesn't mean you have to use them, abuse them, play them. Like, and that, what'd you say the other episode, grinds my gears.
Grinds my gears.
And I pray that this, you know what? I'm not going to put God in it. Not going to put God. We're going to put out in the universe everything bad that can happen to this man, that, you know, I hope every time we walk past the coffee table, he stub his toe. I hope he don't see them speeding cameras ever on his way to work.
That's a one right there. Now that's a one. Lord, pray that spirit off of me, because I'm tired.
I hope when he makes a fresh hot meal that he's walking and it trips and it falls on the floor.
Yeah, his favorite one.
Everyone.
The one he's been waiting to eat all day long. The plate just boop boop.
Because it's men like that just give us a bad rap, and that's just unfortunate that this man did that to this girl.
Yeah, it's and you know, when you really look at the entire timeline, it's tricky, right? Like what you just said and how you put that together, spot on. But she says that they were together for 2 years, but they have a 3-year-old son. So you were pregnant, sounds like, before you all were actually in a committed situation, right? And then you got committed roughly around the birth of the child. And then 2 years of that time, give or take, maybe a year and some change of that time, you were together but living separately.
Yeah.
I am so curious, and of course I don't have this backstory of like what the conversations were like leading into living together, like actually deciding to live together, because naturally, if you have a child with someone and you're in a relationship with them, it's just very natural to like want to live together, you know, to put the whole family under one roof. But also the other trickier part about this is that I deeply feel like you were at the same job with the same coworker for probably majority of this time. So it's like, I have so many questions. Like, where do you work that you can't afford to live by yourself? Where were you living before?
What this scenario tells me with what she said, and I'm so sorry for this, real lover. I'm so sorry that you're dealing with this. But what it's telling me is that she probably took advantage of him, or that he probably took advantage of her. Because she says, but also I don't want my father's child to be homeless.
Yeah.
So that just let me know her mindset, right? And not saying that it's necessarily a wrong mindset. You're probably kind and generous and nice. But that grown man, that's a grown man.
That's it.
They got nothing with you, where he lives, where he lays his head, or what he does for work to be able to provide for himself, especially if he's dating another woman.
Especially, because if you have time to find yourself in a situationship, then you should be able to find yourself a house. You should be able to find yourself an apartment. You should be able to find yourself a room. You should be able to find yourself a landing pad. You should be able to find yourself a soft place to land that, one, is comfortable for you as a father who is no longer in a relationship, where you can help. I mean, like a home your child can come home to, you know, like that should be your number one priority.
Yep.
But then also, if you don't want to be in a relationship, we shouldn't be living together. Like, we should not be in the same household. Like, you are clearly moved on. You've clearly, even if it's as she described it, a situationship, how can you even feel comfortable coming home to me but messing with someone else? And imagine what he is potentially telling the coworker. Where do you think he's like being honest with the coworker and like being like, yeah, you know, I live with my. Then again, I don't know, because I've heard the stories.
I was
about to say, never mind. Because one thing you, as Drake called y'all earlier, brothers, have is the audacity. You got a lot of that. You have a lot of it, and I'm mad that I missed the sale. Whatever year it went on sale a couple years ago, I'm mad that I missed the audacity sale, because y'all have a lot of audacity to actually just like bodaciously say, yeah, I got stuff going on, and I live with my baby mama, but I like you, and she stressed me out. And women unfortunately, time over time, fall for this type of foolishness. And then next thing you know, these two women are at each other's throat over somebody that can't even afford to live in his own home. I can't. I simply cannot.
Let's get to the breakdown.
Let's get to the breakdown because Lord. Okay, so let's just start with breakup and breakup grief, which is something that we talked about. We have a whole episode, episode 37, called Leaving and Grieving, where we break down just some tips on how to leave and how to walk away from a relationship, and also just some helpful tips for that grieving process. And I feel bad for her because she can't even get into that process. And it is a very necessary process when you go through a breakup, like the grief of it all, the feeling of loss, the frustrations that come with that, ultimately the healing that comes with that, the joy of it was a season, we created a beautiful thing, we created a child. Like, I hate that she can't go through this process because they're still cohabitating. But I want to just talk about like how breakups just impact you overall. Like, I know how they impact me. I know how heavy they can be, but I want to know from you, like from a guy's perspective, like when you've gone through a breakup, like how did it impact you overall? Like what parts of your life were impacted by the breakup?
That's hard. I was thinking about that. I've never been broken up with. I only had 2 girlfriends in my life, real ones. One in college, and I broke that one off, and then my wife, and that's it. So never really had any true like relationships to where I was that invested to where it hurt. I would talk about my relationship with my ex, and when I realized that I was wrong, there was a lot of guilt with that, and that really hurt. But it was so far removed from the situation. But I can say just dealing with relationships in general, that let's put a breakup aside. If I have a disagreement or I'm going through something, my whole day is just off. Like I can't concentrate, I can't focus, I can't think about anything. So I can't imagine people who are going through breakups with people 2 years in, 3 years in, got a child, living together, like all these different things that you were doing, and then you got to get up and go to work every day. Like my mind would not be in it. I don't know how people do it. And I can only imagine it's tough and challenging and difficult because it's the heartbreak is just only one part of it. Then you have to think of, you know, was it me? Was it something I did? You second guessing yourself. Then it might highlight some of your insecurities because you're like, especially if you're in a situation to where somebody goes from you to someone else and you know that they went to someone else. So then it's like, well, was it something that I did? Am I inadequate? Oh, this person is different than me in these ways. So is it me being like this that makes them not like me? So they went to this. It's like all these different things that are going through your head as you're trying to navigate and figure out and get through this moment. So I can only imagine, like I said, I don't know how people function, get work done, do all that stuff when you're going through something like that.
And I think did you know, even if you are the person that's like doing the breaking up with, because I've been in both positions, most of the time I've done the breaking up with, and still it was like, oh, you know, it just it takes the wind out of you. And like you said, even when you're just having a disagreement within a relationship, listen, I think I've talked about this on the show before, but some of you may be new here, so you've never heard this story. That I remember when Dre and I worked together, him and Bree had some sort of disagreement, but this was early on. Like y'all weren't living together yet. She was still in Cleveland, and we were working out of like a remote office.
Oh yeah.
So we weren't even like in our property yet. We were working out of, so it was just a really little small office space, just the two of us. So, and we would play music. We didn't have a lot of customers. It was like kind of cool. So it was very chill. And whatever it was eating Dre alive. Like literally, like I'm like asking him questions like, so the blah, 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 blah. And he's just over there like, I'm like, Dre? He like, I'm like, Dre? He like, yeah, I'm sorry. What did you say? I'm like, and then eventually he was like, I'll be back. I got to take a walk. I thought the boy left, like, for the day. For the whole day. He was gone, okay? Like, gone for, you were definitely gone for, like, at least an hour.
Yeah.
So when you say you could take a walk, you just think it's going to be a few minutes. He'll be back. But I knew that, like, something was really going on. So, of course, I wasn't, like, tripping about it. When he came back, he was just like, man, I'm sorry. Like, it's just, you know, and it wasn't, you know, looking at it now, I don't really remember what it was, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it was probably pretty insignificant. But it was something that was like, it was in his spirit, okay? Like, he could not function.
Listen, we'd all walk past somebody on the phone like, I told you that we are not. Like, exactly. Like, they going through something.
Don't worry about it. I don't need nothing. I'm good. You good. We good. But I am very similar. That's like when things are upside down, like, you can see it, and it's very hard for me to, like, hide that. It is. And when you go through a breakup, like, you really feel like your employer should give you sick time for breakups. Mm-hmm. It should give you, like, relationship issue days. Like, start putting those in the benefits packages, okay? Because people need them. But I wanted to read off just, like, some of the things that you can experience when you go through a breakup. Mm-hmm. Just to give you an idea, because they ain't for the weak. Insomnia, depression, tiredness, difficulty concentrating, irritability, appetite changes.
I was about to say that appetite one get you going.
Listen, want to lose some weight quick. I mean, or in the reverse, because some people are emotional eaters. You know, you go through something and now you just want to eat everything in sight.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, general feelings of guilt or worthlessness, and loss of interest in hobbies. All of a sudden, that thing that you used to do, working out, going to play tennis, doing whatever it is now it's like, I just want to go home and lay down. I don't even want to see the inside of a gym. Me and him used to work out together every day. You know, like, you just are.
Then you turn on Netflix, start crying. This was our show.
This was our show. Who am I supposed to finish watching this with now? You know, it is a lot, baby. It is a lot. But you need, in all seriousness, right? Like, you need to go through that process, like, so that you can get on the other side of it. And it is very hard to go through the stages and the waves and the ebbs and the flows of a breakup when the person is still in your face and still in the same space as you. You cannot truly release them. And I think I said this on that episode or another episode. You cannot actually really break up with someone that you still live with. You can say that you all are broken up. You can even sleep in separate rooms. But if you had a romantic connection, in my humble opinion, if you had a romantic connection that involved intimacy, sex, sharing secrets, vulnerability, you cannot truly say that y'all are broken up when you still turning the key in the same household every day. You just can't. Like, you sharing a kitchen, you probably sharing a bathroom. Some people aren't even sleeping in separate rooms because you can't. You might just live in a space where there is only one bedroom. Maybe you don't have a couch. You know, everybody's situation isn't the same. And so how can I really be broken up with you if I'm laying next to you every night? If, like, I have to see you every day? That is, I just don't think it's possible. So while I get what she's saying, they've been broken up, I think that you all are in a space of somewhat separation, but it's not a breakup. It is absolutely not a breakup, which is why I think she feels so hurt, honestly, and bothered by something that she shouldn't even be privy to. Him sleeping with his coworker or talking to a woman right now that's not a relationship, if he didn't live in the same household as you, you may not even know that.
Yeah.
It's not like he would possibly be calling you like, hey, how my son today? Yeah, I'm talking to Keisha at work. You know what I mean? Like, and you asked him about it. And it's probably because you see certain behaviors that people do when they're dating, like sitting in the room talking on the phone or texting, or maybe you're overhearing conversations, things that you just should not know when you aren't with the person anymore. It's nothing really wrong with him moving on, but it's everything wrong with it because you all are still living in the same household.
Yes.
Flat out.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you're dealing with this. And I was joking about physically, you know, doing anything to somebody like that. But he's also lucky that she's a very nice person.
Mm-hmm. Better
because that can get sideways real quick.
You're going to find somewhere to live. Okay. That's what you are going to do. You're going to want to leave this house. You're not going to want to be here with me. Up in his bed
snoring.
You're not going to want to be here.
They got the nerve. He probably still ain't cleaning up after himself in the house. Nothing like that.
Yeah, no. You're not. I hate to say it. Y'all, I'm a healed namaste woman these days. But in this type of dynamic, you are not going to like me. I'm telling you right now, I want to have a healthy co-parenting situation, as I said at the top of the episode. But if we're still living together and you start seeing someone else and you think you're just going to do that in my face? Oh, watch this. You're not going to like when I decide to play back. Oh, it's not going to be fun for you. It's not. It's definitely not going to be fun for you. Oh, my God. You're going to be like, I'm going to knock her head clean off her shoulders.
Well, the good thing is here is that sometimes when you have breakups, you always have that thought of like, could it maybe have worked out? Maybe. At least now you know it's not a redeemable quality here right now. Because it's not only people break up, people move on, right? But the fact that I feel like he ran game on you to get the apartment because he can't afford to live on his own, but also for somebody to come out and say that, that means they really don't care. Like they almost are ready to discard you and they're using that as like, hey, just letting you know this thing is really over. There's this other person. It was cool. A lot of fun.
Gotta go.
Peace out.
Yeah.
Like that, like you just don't care. Like, and to say that, like it's just, so the good thing is that you don't have to worry about getting back with him. Your bar for him should be hell, right? So now you shouldn't expect anything great from him, right? So a lot of times why we get disappointed and why we have these issues and heartbreak is because our expectation was at a certain level and our expectation wasn't met. But now for him, your expectation is super low. It's so low. Like he may not be able to get under how low you think his, you know, the expectations of him actually are. So now moving forward, you have to heal.
Yeah.
But you should at least know, like, all right, I'm dealing with a scumbag.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. And that's what I should expect now. I'm not expecting anything different. I don't want to get back with him. Don't want to make it work because obviously somebody who treat me like that, I don't want to be with him.
Yeah.
So now it's just about me figuring out this co-parenting situation, me figuring out this living situation, because I'm sure if she tried to kick him out, he'd be like, well, my name's on the lease because he probably set it up that way because he was scheming.
Yep.
So you need to figure out that part, but that's co-parenting and the part of moving out, getting your own place or getting him out, like whatever, that's the things you need to focus on. Repairing that relationship from a romantic standpoint, nah,
it's not there. And you know, oh man, I do want to get into this coworker situation only because it makes me think about something that is so lighthearted that a lot of us probably in corporate America have done, which I have certainly done it, but I think that it can be a really slippery slope. And that is the work spouse relationship, calling, you know, the husbands and your work wife. And it's really this, it's rooted in innocence. You know, it's just basically a person at work that you know, that they're like your right hand. It feels like this is my partner in crime. It's a platonic, just like really good working relationship. It's like they get me, I get them. And it feels all cool and innocent when you just describe it and how it's truly defined. But I think those relationships can become slippery slopes.
Yeah.
And especially if there is actual attraction and the only thing that keeps you off from doing it is just you wanting to keep your job because it's like a policy that says you shouldn't do that. But if you took it out of that arena, it would probably happen. I think that is when they are a very slippery slope. I think it's all cool and well when your work husband is, you're 30 and your work husband is a 75-year-old man who, you know, brings you banana bread and, you know, y'all share recipes over cookies and stuff like that. Like it's all safe except for when it's his son the 40-year-old that's good looking and you like, damn, I'm gonna just call him my work husband. And when he buys you lunch and you dress extra cute when you come to work, when you're doing that type of stuff, to me, that's just a problem waiting to happen.
Yeah. I mean, we have all known people who've fraternized in the workplace.
Oh, yes.
I don't think I've ever, let me see. No,
we used to work together. No, let me stop.
I'm trying to think. No, I never, no. As time may have went on, it possibly could have been something that would have happened. Okay. Not anybody when we worked together in our direct buildings. Yeah. But like other parts of the company for sure.
So that's that. Well, that counts, but it doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't because it's not like a daily. Because
you don't see the person every day. That's very true. That's very true.
So that definitely could have happened. But I haven't worked at a ton of places either, or places like, even though where we worked was large, it wasn't like you had your teams. The
staffs were small.
Your teams, and really, you don't really have, especially from my perspective, from a service standpoint, maintenance standpoint, it was rarely women in that position anyways. Yeah. So it was only like one or two people anyways that we work with. But yeah, I haven't necessarily dealt with that, but I could see how it could get to that point. Yeah. Especially now where I'm at, being at Urban One, which is a huge company, and especially in the media space, entertainment, especially before like COVID and stuff like that, when people are actually in the office. Yeah. And then you have a certain environment and it's chill and it's lax and it's like younger people and stuff like that. I could see how you can.
Or you celebrate over drinks and happy hours.
And I think with work stuff, it's like so many things that wouldn't be acceptable are acceptable, right? So it's like, even my first day at work, which she was like really dope. Like one of my coworkers, he was like, "Oh, it's your first day. Like I'll treat you to lunch and just tell you about the company, blah blah blah." And that's completely normal, right? Because she's my coworker. Yeah. But if I just met some girl out on the street and was just like, "Hey, like how's it going?" and she's like, "I would love to take you to lunch and just talk about the area. Like I'm new here, just see it." It would be a little bit more like,
"You like me?
What you doing?" Or my wife would be like, "What? Who's this? Why she want?" Right. She could have just asked you. Yeah. She had to treat you to lunch. Right. So I think more things are acceptable when it's your coworker going to have drinks. It's like, oh, that's normal. Or like an after hours work thing. Oh, that's normal. Like, yeah. But these are still social things that you can meet people, discuss things. And then sometimes people see the work as an escape. It's like, I have my day to day, but I'm with this person, 7 hours, 8 hours of the day sometimes? Yeah. And you spend a lot of time with them, and it's almost that kind of escape from your everyday life. Yeah. So people could tend to fantasize about that relationship, that experience, and all that. So
yeah, and I think the nice thing, but also goes into that slippery category as well with the work spouse is, if you all really start to get close and like you become friends, like you and I were like the good safe side of it, where you start to develop a friendship where you talk about things that aren't work related. Yeah. You start talking about your personal life. And in the slippery slope dynamic, some of that is including like, oh, my relationship is this, or he's not doing that, or she's not doing this. And you start to, if your coworker understands your perspective, they're like, dang, that's crazy. If I had a guy like you,
how many coworker therapists there are?
Yeah, most people. I think most people are experiencing that. So when you couple that with attraction, and then like you said, that fantasy of like
the power dynamic, the forbidden love, wow. Like we shouldn't do this.
Yeah. It's nothing but an opportunity, like basically waiting to happen. And I think a lot of people, even people who winded up getting married and been together forever, a lot of times people meet their person in the workspace because of that. Yeah. Like they because you're so close to each other, you work together, you work for the same company, you see each other at different things, you're spending a lot of time together. Next thing you know, boom, you're dating and or you're cheating with your coworker because of just proximity. They're just there.
And the thing you gotta think of too is like, what do most people do on the weekends, right? Who are single? They go out, they socialize, they have fun. And that's because to them that is fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's what I want to do with my free time. So a lot of people, not saying they don't necessarily love their job, but it still work. So if they're trying to figure out ways to get through the day, conversing, flirting, talking, like that's a way to help you get through the day.
Yep.
And have fun and make it exciting and make it interesting, like stuff like that. So you definitely have to be careful of that. But I don't think, I know that she said in here that, you know, I forgot which part it was where she was just like, oh, they just hopped into a situation. I think they was in that situation.
Yeah, I think they was already hopping in that situation.
Yeah, I think they was been in that situation for a minute.
And it might be a reach, but it just seems very interesting that the moment, basically from the time you all decided to live together, magically you aren't in a relationship anymore. I don't know who did the breaking up with, but it's just very, very interesting. And she could have been, not that it's her fault because it's his choice, but she could be the catalyst for why he's like, I don't need to be in this situation with you because I want to be in this situation with her, which makes me believe that this man, who you are very fearful of being homeless should you truly not live together, it really makes me think that he is what we call a hobosexual. And if you've never heard that term, I don't even think it's definitely not a real term. It's kind of meant to be very funny, but it is essentially when a person is creating romantic connections and or sexual connections for housing because they don't have anywhere else to go. And so they find very vulnerable people, primarily women, find themselves in these situations. Shout out to Risa Tisa, where the man is like coming in hot and strong and he's like, oh yeah, this and that. He's got just enough to make you think that he's got it going on. And next thing you know, he's living with you. He's staying with you and he doesn't have anywhere to go. Like, again, he has a job where he's sleeping with his coworker. What do they pay them with? Gum? Because if you're earning money, why don't you have the ability to live in your own place?
Well, let me ask you a question here.
Okay.
Philosophically, is hobosexuals, that term, reserved exclusively for men?
No.
Because that, to me, and the opposite, just sound like a girlfriend.
I'm not gonna let you play with us. I'm not gonna let you play with us like that.
I'm just, as you were talking about it, I was like, huh.
First of all,
Drake, with the person for housing, like you know, like sex is the exchange, essentially. Like, so I'm just wondering, speaking up for some brothers, there might be some dudes that's like, that kind of sound like my girl.
I don't even have no fight in me for that. I don't. I do not. I don't. That's crazy how you set that up. That is crazy how you slowly walked into it. Like, so let me ask you this. When you add one, carry the one, minus the two, it's giving girlfriend. When women do it, you're in a relationship. But when men do it, we're hobosexuals. Crazy how that works. Well, you know, I don't relate. I literally don't relate. I can't relate. I don't know this tribe of people because, again, maybe by age, but I can't even say that because I lived on my own with a roommate, you know, but lived in my own place where I was paying my own bills at 19. That I started out pretty young. And so I have never dated someone with the intention primarily for housing. I have not. Okay. Like anytime I lived with someone, which has only been twice, it was truly because that was just the stage we were at in our relationship. And in fact, one of the people who I did that with was basically a hobosexual. Okay. Also known as a boyfriend.
Okay.
Yes, but
I think that's something we got to dive into because if you look into that, it's like, yeah.
But is it an age thing? Like, is it an age thing?
No, because I think society tells us that a woman goes from her father's house to her husband's house. Like that's like a thing, right? Like if there was a woman, let's take two instances. Mm-hmm. There's a man, 32, live with his mama in the basement. Mm-hmm. Then he meets a girl, starts dating her, moves in with her, but he can't really cover everything. Mm-hmm. And she's really paying the majority. He's still working, but where he working ain't really covering what needs to be covered.
He work where his man work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where his man work, where they get paid in gum and Tic Tacs.
Right.
You would look at him and be like, damn, he taking advantage of her. Mm-hmm. He a hobosexual, cellar dweller. But then you flip the same situation. Woman, 32, meet a man. Job she work where you can't cover everything. Mm-hmm. The man take care of everything. Yep. And we see sex as the exchange. She like, oh, I'm putting them on him. I cook. I do this, blah, 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 blah. We say, oh, look at that great man. He is taking care of her. Isn't he amazing? She found herself a good one. When are y'all getting married? So I think we just got to ask ourselves, why
is there a double standard?
Is there a difference?
I can't. I feel like I lost a fight. I feel like I'm losing a fight. I don't have any. I can't. I have no fight on this one. Like, Dre is correct. There are just some double standards, Dre, that you have to accept in life. This is one of them. Okay.
It's like me and the ladies are gonna go back to the drawing board, and we'll come back with our response a little
y'all
later.
Help me. DM me what I was supposed to say to Dre when you finish listening to this episode. You DM me. You tell me prepare me for when this comes back up again, because it will, and I want to be better prepared. I don't have a rebuttal for this today, other than the fact that it is simply a double standard that exists, and that's that. Yeah. And I am a woman who believes that some double standards are fair, even when they don't benefit me, even when they don't benefit my species of people. I just think some are that way. So I hear you. I have experienced this. Like, I've known people that do this, and I do know for a fact that most people in that situation, women would not be looked at as homosexuals or cellar dwellers or anything negative if she just really didn't have it all together and moved in with a man who was paying all the bills and holding things down financially. That would be looked at as normal because of the patriarchal societal situation that we live in. It just is because men are the providers and they are supposed to take up the anchor of paying for the things, and that is their primary provision, so I think it's just one of those things where I could probably, if I hadn't got my ass bust like I did on this point tonight, I probably could dig deep into how to loop this back around to being a man problem, that y'all created this problem for yourselves since you want to be the provider so much. But you know what? He's right. He's correct. And it's not going to change.
No. But it's the thing is that everybody always wants to put things on one side or another. That it's hard on both sides.
It is.
Relationships, just in general, the double standard. We all have our separate standards that society has created. Mm-hmm. But we always say society, but we are society. I wonder if you had us redo everything, it'll probably end up the same way, because people are people, right? Yeah. That's just how it is.
Yes.
But I think it's important for us to acknowledge both sides, right? Mm-hmm. And understand that we both have our challenges, right? Yeah. I think the balance is that men's challenge is a lot tougher on when it comes to the relationship side of things, because we're held to a higher standard. We're told at a very young age, the world tells us everything wrong about us and everything right about us, right? But on the flip side, I feel like a lot of the things that we're judged on are within our control. To where on the other side with women, I feel like you're judged on less, essentially, but a lot of what you're judged on is your appearance unfairly, and that's less of something that you can control. Mm-hmm. So it's like, as a man, I know if I'm 5'6", I could get a whole bunch of money, obtain power, build wealth, be generous, be kind. And I'll find a woman who could look past the appearance, physically, how I may look, and say, like, I'm going to love you and I'm going to get to know you and be a great wife and be a part of your life. But I feel like sometimes with women, you could bring the same exact thing to the table, but just off of your appearance, somebody could look at you and just disqualify you off of that.
Yeah.
That's why you have a lot of, and not saying it's strictly off of appearance, but you have a lot of successful women who are like, yo, I'm doing well, I'm great, I have a great career and everything, but it's difficult sometimes to find love or find a man, because although all that's cool, a dude might be like, you just don't do it for me.
Yeah.
To where in the opposite way, a girl might be like, I mean, man, if I squint a little bit, I think I can make it work.
Yeah.
But he has all these other things. But as a man, I can control that.
Yeah.
I can, dictate how, if I put a lot of effort in. And so it's just these double standards. And I think it's important when we're getting in relationships, and this is on subject, off subject, I don't know.
It's valuable information.
But when we're entering into relationships, we just need to make sure that we understand who we're trying to be in relationship with.
And why.
And why.
Yeah.
But just in general, if we're talking about heterosexual relationships, women, you have to know that you are dating men, heterosexual men. And men, heterosexually, you have to know you're dating a heterosexual woman. And there are things that you have to understand about that, even if you feel like, that shouldn't be like this, that shouldn't be like that. You know how society has created everything that we believe and what we think about. You just have to understand that you're dating a man or a woman. So there are certain things that do come with that. Whether you agree with it or not, there are going to be certain things that if you do it, it's going to rub somebody the wrong way. There's going to be certain things if you do it, it's going to work out for you. Just a reality.
It just is.
And that's what, bringing it back around to the double standards, is that double standards are just our reality.
Yeah.
One of the hardest questions in life is what is versus what should be. Making that decision, what is versus what should be. You could go with what should be, but then you might be kicked out of the NFL like Colin Kaepernick. Or you might be in jail because you're disrupting the status quo. Even though this is what it should be, you're right.
Yeah.
This is what it should be. It's not what it is. And when you don't go with what it is, you're disrupting something. And there are a lot of people who get upset when you disrupt stuff.
Yeah.
So you have to determine that so many different points of your life, am I going to go with what it is or what it should be?
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people in dating, they going with what it should be sometimes, which is not saying it's an issue, but you find yourself lonely or single or something like that because you're standing for something, which a lot of times you are right, but it's just not the way that things are. It's not how it is.
Yeah.
And you have to make that determination of which way you're going to go.
So true, man. So true. I think the last thing I'll say about the hobosexual thing is I do think that it's an interesting theme, and it's something that I've seen in our scenarios before. And I've also actually know several guys that are not young, that do not live on their own and or never have lived on their own, into their 30s, and still live not at home, not like something happened and they had to go back home, never left, just still live at home. And it's a very interesting thing. And I found this article, it was from 2020. It was in Essence, that talked about how so many men live at home in comparison to their counterparts. And I was like, is this a thing? Is it geographical? Is it just me where between the scenarios and the guys that I know, why is that? Do you truly not want your own space? I get financial reasons, I get inflation, I get you went through something and now you're going back home to get on your feet. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. I am talking about you have a job, you make enough money to actually live in your own place, but you just don't. You're literally like waiting maybe for a partner, what you talked about with a woman, leave your dad's house and you go and be with your husband. I've seen that with men several times where like when they do then go through a breakup or a situation, they've never done that by themselves. So then they just wind up going back home because that's all they've known. They've never even trusted themselves enough to use their money to pay for their own housing by themselves. I just find it interesting. And maybe it's just me and the guys some of the guys that I know, but like you were one of the only guys that I knew that like got their own place. Like that I know. Of course, I see men. I work in an industry where plenty of men live by themselves. But personally, majority of them have lived with their mamas, aunts, cousins.
What's their relationship with those women?
With their moms?
Yeah.
I mean...
So, you're saying even sometimes they go place to place, like family member to family member, just like not getting their own spot?
Yeah.
And they can afford to?
Yes. That's why I'm like, what is it? Like it's so when I even found the Essence article, I was like, it's such an interesting like thing for me.
Well, maybe it's just maybe they can't afford to based off of their priorities. Maybe they make enough to.
Got it.
But they want to have a Gucci shoes or like there's things that take priority over it, and they're like, shoot, like I can just I can run game. If I want to smash, I can do it at Shawty place, and I can, figure that out and manipulate my way through that. And then all the other stuff is like, cool. It's a meal here. It's like all that stuff. Like, I mean, I can't relate.
Right.
Yeah. And then I also like, as parents, I had those parents like, okay, like, you're getting on your feet, but right now. Like, okay, when you going? Yeah. Or you gonna start paying rent? Or like,
you gonna pick one.
There's gonna be incentives that are gonna make you want to leave. Like, and because this shouldn't be where you're ultimately gonna be. And I think it's very interesting, men that do that. I also want to talk about the men that don't make enough, because I think it's also a society thing too. Sometimes it's like, all right, let's say I am 32, right? And now I'm trying to date women who are of that age range. Let's say 27 to 35. Most of the time, women, at that age are starting to excel in their career and doing well for themselves. So it's like, as a man, let's say that, I didn't have a true career path or something like that. So trying to pick a job could be an interesting thing for a guy, right? Because as a woman, I know plenty of women who are very successful in their careers and their jobs and still bartend on the weekends or still bottle service on the weekends. And that's like not looked down at all. It's not like nothing to that. But if you saw, your guy at 32, cleaning up tables at Potbellies, you would probably, as a woman, lose respect for that man.
As his second job?
Just doing it in general.
Okay.
I'm seeing you in an apron at Potbellies, like cleaning up stuff. Like mentally, it would just be like, I don't know if I want that dude. And I think that could sometimes go into a man's mind. It's like certain jobs, just from an optic standpoint, doesn't give off what it should to attract, I feel like, who I may want or who he may want. So that can be a thing too. It's just so much thing with men, like the pride thing and just trying to come off a certain way.
Yeah.
It's just very tough to try to navigate that. And it's like, also, what if I can't really afford my own place, but I can barely, but I know a girl wouldn't want to be with a dude who, lives with his mom. So I'm going to try to push this and it's tough. And, I can't really afford it, but I don't want to be 32 or 33 and not have my own place. So it's all these different things to where we're pressured sometimes to make certain decisions and do certain things that I feel like women don't feel the same pressure.
Yeah, and see, I feel like And I won't deep dive, but I do want to deeply talk about this in maybe a different episode. Because I think that is where sometimes women get frustrated because one, yes, we do actually feel pressures to take care of ourselves. You know, we do, especially the older you get, because you certainly, I think women who do want to be in relationships, they want to be able to do what they're doing with a partner. They don't want to have to take it on all on their own. I think, again, most women who want to be with someone probably wanted to figure that out mid to late 20s, early 30s, maybe at the latest. And the longer you are out here, the more you really do want, at least for me and mine as in me and my girlfriends that are single and dating, it's like you do want to be able to do this with someone because the pressure is overwhelming. It does feel like a lot. But then it gets to be kind of irritating when, and I don't want to diminish the societal issues with men making less money sometimes, because even that statistically is just not true. But person to person, it can be very true. Individual to individual, it can be very true. But it's like, if I can do it, so can you. If I can work a full-time job and bartend 1 or 2 days a week because that's what I need to do to make the ends meet, then like, so can you. And I know that there's a group of women out here who wouldn't respect that, who feel like you should, I can have 5 jobs because I'm a girl, but you're a guy, you need to just have one really good job, which is insane. So that group of women that think like that is immature. But to me, it's like, that's actually what I think most women would respect, would like to see, instead of you making excuses for yourself that like, it's so hard. It's so hard. Yeah, it's hard for all adults. It's hard for women who are doing it too. I wasn't given any opportunities. I pursued them. I chased them. I went and got certifications. I stayed extra hours. I put myself out there. I joined the groups. I rubbed the shoulders. I did all the things to get to where I am. And sometimes I learned in the process. I didn't get a manual that was like, here's how you go and be a successful woman. I didn't get that type of book. I got inspiration, surely. There were people that I met along the way. Certainly in my own household, my mother was a hard worker, but I long out-earned what my mother earned on her retirement day. I have long out-earned that. So I didn't grow up in a household with a woman who was a high income earner, you know? So I think that is a deep dive that would be such a really good conversation. But it's like, we're being sensitive and understanding to the fact that there are factors that are in this world that prevent sometimes our counterparts from being as successful as they can be, but also sometimes it is just them. It is just y'all choosing to not go after it, because even you are a shining example of a man who didn't just become a product of circumstances, or to say, oh, I'm a young Black guy and all the odds are against me. Every odd that you have come against, you have passed through it. You like, I was making this right here. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to set this aside. And today you are very comfortable in many ways, from just being an entrepreneur, but just truthfully, like, just financially comfortable. You could pay your bills without it feeling crazy. So if you can do it, he can do it, and he can do it, and he can do it, and he can do it. And then occasionally we're going to come to a he that can't do it because the circumstances were way too hard for him to come out of it. But that ain't all y'all's story. Yeah. It's just not.
No, that's not. And like you said, there's no excuse for those men who don't try, who don't put forth effort, because there are a lot of lazy, just unaccountable, don't want responsibility dudes out there. I think on the flip side too, though, that I can't wait to dive in this. Maybe with our first guest, we could really dive into this too, because I think that would be a good conversation. Really good. But it's this thing to where it's hard to understand what women want sometimes for men, right? It's like, and I was listening to a podcast earlier. It was a relationship therapist on, a psychiatrist, and she was like, women often say they want a man who's sensitive, right? But the moment, she said in her sessions, the man opens up and starts to cry or something like that, then it's kind of like, nah, that's not, it makes you look at him differently. So I feel like that happens a lot with men. It's like, oh, you want this, but do you really want it? And I feel like the difference is that with a man, if he meets somebody a woman who lives at his mom's house, or a woman who's a waitress or something like that, if he says like, I'm okay with this, I think he genuinely means I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
Versus a woman, if you meet a man who's in that same situation, it's like, I will look past this
for now,
but I'm not okay with it.
Yeah. So
to say like, yeah, if you do this and do that, it's like, yeah, I'll be fine with it. It's like, no, you're waiting for the time to where I'm not doing this so that I can then be the person that every woman seems like they want, the provider, the this, the that. And I think that's the difference, because it's like, do you want this, or are you okay with it, or no, you're not okay with it. Or I've seen women like discount good careers for men, a teacher, a man to a nurse, or something like these are great career paths. Yeah, but it's just not VP of, CEO of, entrepreneur, owner of, right? So I think that I hear the men a lot too, to where they are confused and they are trying to figure out what route to take. And it just sucks sometimes, because society, a lot of times we just focus on attracting the other sex versus just living our lives. Yeah. Every move is calculated. Why we get this car, so when I pull up, people it's just all these things are to attract, impress other people, versus just kind of charting your own path, living your own life, doing what's best for you. And I think that probably is just the solution, right? It's like, forget everybody else. Just do what makes sense to you. Do what feels good for you from a career standpoint. If you like this, go study that. Go figure that out. Try to grow in that space, versus worrying about what the optics may be.
Very true.
And I do commend women for that, because you guys are less concerned about the optics. I know a lot of women who are like, yo, I got a job, but I'm trying to buy this house. It's me and my kid. I'm going to work at this place for 6 months, and I'm going to do it. People might talk about me. People might laugh at me, but I just got to handle business.
Take these nails off. I ain't get no lashes done.
No, I got to do it, right?
I got to do what I got to do.
And there are men who do that as well, who do grind and do that. So but I do see a lot of women taking that jump and being like, all right, this is what it is. And we have to figure that out, because there is a discrepancy between women and men when it comes to schooling at every level.
Yes.
Every single level.
Agreed.
Especially Black men and women.
Yes.
That Black women are excelling in those areas, and Black men, we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And in ways that you can't control. So in no way, and y'all know Dre and I, we're going to have a healthy, balanced conversation always, because one thing I know we agree on more than anything is that this is a we thing. How we restore relationships truly is like understanding that it is a we thing. We all have to participate. We all share faults. We all can do better. We all can be better. So final thoughts to Miss Gypsy Woman. I'm just going to keep it very short and sweet. I think that you need to deeply explore how to get out of this situation before those 8 months are up. I cannot tell you how important your mental health is to not just you, but also to this boy that you are raising. And if you stay in this situation with his father, cohabitating with him through the end of this lease term, I just don't think it's going to be good for you. It's already not good for you. You are not responsible for his housing. You are not. And I understand not wanting to see your child's father homeless, but I also think that you are so overly kind, maybe naive, blind, and a sprinkle of delusional to think that if you figure out how to get out of that lease agreement, that he is going to be living on the street. I think that's extreme. Extreme.
He'll figure it out.
He will figure it out. And as long as you don't make him figure it out, he won't. He won't. He is now responsible for another human being outside of himself, just like you are. So he will have to figure it out. It's not on you to take care of him. It's just not. And I do think, again, in a good situation, co-parents are supposed to be partners, right? Like, listen, you need, I got you. But in this situation, it's you're being taken advantage of, and you need to get out of it so you can start getting onto the other side of feeling better and being better, because again, you are not just doing it for you, you're doing it for someone else.
For sure.
Yeah.
I agree with all that. And I'll just say that, remember the real life love scenario and what that said in the beginning.
Yep.
Is that, what was it? The number one indicator of whether or not a child will grow up and thrive is the quality of their mother's happiness. You got to take care of you first.
Yep.
And being in the situation that you're in is causing you stress, anxiety, all these different emotions that's not going to be healthy for you and subsequently won't be healthy for your child. Mm-hmm. And sometimes in situations like this, you have to pay sometimes to discard of certain situations. And that's kind of almost the consequences for your actions essentially. And it sucks. Mm-hmm. So we know being in property management, there's a break lease fee, 2 months, like something like that. You may lose your deposit. And unfortunately, that's not something that we all want to deal with or have to fork out. But when it comes to your mental stability, your health, the stability of your child, being able to move on, sometimes you might have to do that.
Yeah.
To get out of that situation, and trust and have faith that as long as you're going about things the right way and going and doing things and being on the right track when you're doing things, that he'll get he'll come back to him. Because people who operate in that way, it comes back to them. Mm-hmm. Somehow, some way. And you don't have to be responsible for the revenge, and you don't have to be responsible for his housing. You don't got to be responsible for how he eats.
Nope.
You don't even got to be responsible for him as a father. That's his responsibilities.
Yep.
Your responsibility now in this situation is to yourself and to your child. Him, if he comes and has some emotional intelligence and wants to be an adult and have a conversation and want to co-parent and do all those things, that's on him. Mm-hmm. Nothing to do with you. So you said how you cope through the madness. Ain't nothing to cope through. You should be done with that situation.
Yeah. Discard of it.
Discard. It's how to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And like Rhonda said, it's going to be very challenging to do that when you're looking at that man every single day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he, who knows how he's going to behave, because he feels like I got these 2 girls wrapped around my finger. I got one who I'm dating and I'm living with somebody else. And I got one who I'm living with, but I ain't got to be with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not a
good situation. Yeah, baby. And honestly, like if you need some help in the property management part of the world with like trying to figure out how to get out of that lease, I'm so serious. DM me. I will do my best to help you out with that, because it's just not a situation that you should stay in. It's just not, it's not good for you. So we truly hope that we were able to help you, Gypsy Woman, get that homeless man out your life, girl. If you want to write in, you know where to find us, relationshiprestore.com. Click the contact button. If you want to be a guest, if you want to give a real lover dedication, or if you want to just share your scenario, that is where you do it. Also follow us on social media. I'm at Ronnie Cakes.
That is Dre Smith.
And at Relationship Restored. Follow us on everything. Gang. I said I was going to stop throwing up the sets other than the hearts.
The hearts.
Make sure you leave us a review. Follow us on TikTok. Everywhere. Just show us some love, because we appreciate that. We'll see you next week.
Peace.